Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really embarking on quite an incredible journey. We're peeling back layers of time, layers of rust actually, to uncover the surprising story of a truly mysterious antique object. This isn't just about cleaning something old, it's more like an archaeological exploration, really, done through restoration. Every little discovery changes how we see its past. Our subject today is this heavily rusted small safe. It was made by the American Nest Company way back in the late 19th century. When it first turned up, it just seemed, almost impenetrable, covered in this thick, century-old crust of rust. But even through all that corrosion, you could just about see hints of what looked like these exquisite hidden patterns. And here's something really fascinating. Its construction used these unique mortise and tenon joints. Think of it like interlocking puzzle pieces, but in solid metal. It definitely hinted at something way more complex than just a simple box.
Absolutely. And our mission with this deep dive, it really goes beyond just, cleaning it up. We're sort of approaching this object like it's an archaeological site. We want to understand its intricate construction, uncover its secrets, whatever they might be, and ultimately reveal its true purpose, which, spoiler alert, might be a bit unexpected. It's really about bringing history back to life, one careful step at a time.
Exactly. Which leads me to a question for you listening right now. What do you imagine this old safe might have once held? What kind of secrets could be hiding in there, sitting locked away for maybe over a century? We kind of want you to be part of this mystery with us. Okay, before we really get into the nitty-gritty, just a quick note. To keep getting our deep dives into the most interesting restoration stories out there, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support really helps us bring more fascinating discoveries like this one to light. Okay, so where did this incredible transformation actually begin? It kicked off with something surprisingly gentle, actually. An initial chemical rust removal. And this wasn't just any harsh acid bath, They used a neutral, reusable, and environmentally friendly agent. It was meticulously applied to strip away that really stubborn, century-old rust. You can just imagine the anticipation as those first layers started to dissolve.
Yeah, and the choice of that specific chemical approach is really important here. Its gentle nature, but still being really effective, that's paramount, because it prepares the surface without causing any more damage. That's super important when you're dealing with potentially delicate features like those hidden patterns or engravings we mentioned. You could easily destroy them with something harsher. It's about respecting the original craftsmanship, not just blasting it clean, making sure its history isn't erased in the process.
And wow, what a reveal after that treatment. As the rust came off, those intricate patterns really started to pop. They became clear. But maybe even more exciting, clear engraved production info, and crucially, serial numbers became visible right there on the safe space. It's like finding a birth certificate for an antique. Although it's worth mentioning the master restorer, Whisk. He unfortunately couldn't track down any historical documents linked to this specific serial number, which only, deepened the mystery of its past, didn't it?
Right. Sometimes the paper trail just runs cold.
So, with that initial cleaning done, Whisk then started the incredibly meticulous disassembly process. Each fixed rivet, it had to be carefully knocked out, one by one. You can almost feel the tension, can't you? Each one giving way, bringing us closer to what's inside, and then the moment of truth, what was actually inside the safe. The door swings open, revealing, not stacks of jewels or anything like that, just a single tagged golden ring. You'd think, okay, that's the big secret, right? But the restorer, almost surprisingly, just sort of moved past it. The real bit of curiosity came when a single screw, just one, seemingly from nowhere, rattled out when the safe was shaken. Just this tiny, inexplicable detail. It adds another layer to the puzzle, doesn't it? Was it a spare part, a kid's lost treasure, just some random bit? We'll probably never know.
It's often those little details that stick with you.
Yeah. So while the contents were their own little puzzle, the true heart of the enigma and its most surprising secret wasn't really what it held, but how it was designed to keep things safe, or seemed to. Which brings us to the lock mechanism. Surprisingly complex, yet ultimately quite revealing.
Yeah, the real genius here wasn't about, Fort Knox level security. It was more about its ability to simulate complexity. This lock system kind of teaches us that sometimes perceived complexity can be a stronger deterrent than actual brute force resistance, especially if the goal isn't protecting state secrets, but maybe something else like education. There were multiple layers to this perceived security. First off, you've got one key, right? But two keyholes. One's just a decoy, a clever misdirection. The correct keyhole, the real one, that was linked to this large internal wheel. And that wheel had several identical looking keyholes on it, and one crucial missing tooth. This missing tooth had to line up perfectly with an external code dial. So it wasn't just about having the right key, you also had to dial in the correct internal combination before the key could even fully engage. Pretty neat. And what's also fascinating is the external knob. It had this little arrow indicator showing the lock's current status. And get this, you can even internally change the password, adding another layer of user customization. But the final, maybe the most intriguing layer, was this horizontal keyhole,
completely hidden behind the main vertical one. The unlocking sequence was quite specific. You had to insert the key in the first visible hole, rotate it 90 degrees. And then you could push it into that hidden horizontal keyhole to finally unlock the thing. The security through obscurity, really. Designed to feel super secure.
Right, it sounds incredibly complex, so given how intricate that sounds, it's just fascinating to hear that, well, it could actually be bypassed pretty easily, apparently with just a small L-shaped tool, or even, pretty brutally with a power grinder. So that raises a huge question, doesn't it? What was this safe truly designed to protect if it could be opened relatively easily? It wasn't for high security, so what was its real purpose?
Well, the answer, it turns out, lies in a bit of historical digging into the Nest Company itself. This company, founded way back in 1843, wasn't primarily known for vaults or security devices. Not at all. Our research shows they were actually primarily a renowned toy manufacturer, celebrated for making these exquisite cast iron toys, and crucially for us, really high-quality piggy banks. This context just completely flips our perception of the safe's purpose, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. And there it is, the aha moment for everyone listening. The Note 40 safe. Despite looking so formidable, wasn't built to guard state secrets or family fortunes. It was mainly for educational and, well, entertainment value. Essentially, a very high-end, fancy piggy bank. You can even see the distinct coin slot right there on the top. And inside, there's this metal tray specifically designed just to collect coins. So it was like a sophisticated, interactive toy, really, designed to teach kids about saving money in a fun, engaging way. It just goes to show you really can't judge a book by its cover or a safe by its rusty, imposing facade.
Exactly, a delightful twist.
What are your thoughts on that? Does that surprise you? Share your thoughts or maybe similar stories in the comments. Your opinion really is important to us. All right, so let's shift gears a bit and focus on the actual hands-on restoration work, moving beyond just that initial chemical dip. The second stage of rust removal involved sandblasting. But not just any sandblasting, they used a very specific, quite delicate medium, white jade. This process carefully stripped away all the remaining stubborn corrosion, revealing the gleaming, bare steel color underneath. It's like watching time rewind layer by layer. And the structural insights gained during disassembly here are really quite remarkable. Beyond just the visible rivets holding it together, the panels also incorporated those hidden mortise and tenon joints we touched on earlier. Now, this isn't just some quaint, antique engineering detail. It's actually a masterclass in how subtle design choices, like these interlocking joints, can drastically boost an object's strength and stability over, a century or more. It prevents warping, keeps everything rigid, all while maintaining that clean external look. It's real foresight from those 19th century makers. Absolutely. So, after stripping it back to the bare metal, the really meticulous surface finishing began. This involved using steel wire brushes, carefully bringing back the original metallic luster on those intricate patterns. Then, a truly precise process, using fine knives and blades to smooth out any rough edges, tiny scratches, or uneven areas that had built up over time. And the final polish, done with high mesh sandpaper, ensuring a perfectly smooth, almost jewel-like finish to the metal.
And this brings up a really important choice the restorer had to make regarding the safe's long-term protection. The master chose electroplating, specifically zinc plating, for the cast iron panels. Now, why that method? Well, it was selected for a critical reason. It uniquely maintains the original aesthetic. It keeps that historical look and feel of the safe, while at the same time offering a really superior level of protection against future rust and corrosion. If you compare it to, say, just slapping on some spray paint, which can look uneven and degrade over time, or even common anti-rust agents, which might offer less durable protection, electroplating actually bonds a protective layer right to the metal surface. It makes it a far more effective and frankly more respectful choice for an antique like this. It ensures it can stand the test of time, just like the original design intended.
That makes perfect sense. Now, one of the most challenging parts of this whole restoration apparently involved a very specific repair. There was a missing tooth on one of the gears inside the lock mechanism. A tiny thing, but crucial. This wasn't just a simple patch-up job, right? It needed incredibly precise work to make sure that lock would function perfectly again. What were the challenges there?
Yeah, for that kind of intricate repair, you need something special. An advanced technique called hard brazing was the chosen method. Now, unlike regular soldering, hard brazing uses a filler metal that melts at incredibly high temperatures, much higher than soft solder. This creates a bond that's incredibly strong, often achieving something like 80–90% of the original base metal strength. So the process, it starts by meticulously grinding the gear surface, preparing the area, then it's carefully preheated. After that, new material, in this case a brass filler rod, chosen because its melting point is lower than the cast iron base metal, which is important, is then basically welded into the gap using capillary action. Think of how water climbs up a narrow tube. Same principle. It flows in and perfectly fills that missing tooth space. And you need that kind of strength. Soft brazing uses fillers melting below 450 degrees C, giving weaker joints. Hard brazing above 450 degrees C gives high strength, suitable for parts under load or heat, though the high heat can risk deforming the base metal if you're not careful. But for this gear, needing to withstand movement and pressure, hard brazing was definitely the right call for long-term function.
Wow, that's fascinating. Precision work indeed. Okay, so with all the individual parts meticulously restored, the final phase was putting it all back together, the reassembly. Interestingly, the master, Whisk, apparently found this part surprisingly straightforward, despite how complex all the parts looked when laid out. I guess it's a testament to the elegance of the original design once you really understand how it fits together.
Right. The reassembly followed a very systematic approach. First, the intricate lock body was carefully put back together, piece by delicate piece. Then, the remaining silver parts, the main body panels, were secured using a combination of those original-style rivets and those hidden mortise and tenon joints we talked about, making sure everything lined up perfectly and was structurally sound again. It's like a delicate dance of precision and patience.
And finally, the moment that signifies the end of the journey, the installation of the very last rivets. You can almost hear that final click as each one goes into place, signifying the complete successful restoration of this truly remarkable 19th century safe. It's genuinely beautiful to see it whole again, gleaming like it might have looked well over 100 years ago. And now, maybe the most satisfying part, a final demonstration of how to correctly open the fully restored safe. It's quite the sequence, isn't it? First, you line up the arrow on that external dial to the number 2. Then you insert the key, turn it a full 90 degrees. Only then can you engage that hidden horizontal keyhole. And with a really satisfying click, the safe unlocks. It just works perfectly, exactly as designed.
Beautiful.
What a journey, seriously. From this heavily rusted, seemingly impenetrable mystery object. This deep dive has taken us through an incredible restoration process, ending with a beautifully restored piece of history whose true, quite delightful purpose was finally revealed. It went from being this puzzling artifact to, well, a playful educational object, teaching us all a valuable lesson about making assumptions.
Yeah, what's truly illuminating here is just how much deeper investigation can completely shift our perception, even of seemingly simple historical objects. It really hammers home the value of understanding an object's full context, its original purpose, the thought behind its design choices. There's nearly always more to uncover than what you see on the surface, isn't there?
Yeah.
Especially if we look beyond first impressions.
Absolutely. And that leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you, our listener. Think about it. What other simple objects in our daily lives, or maybe tucked away in your own attic or basement, might hold these hidden layers of purpose, maybe some design genius, or just surprising stories that we haven't even begun to unpack yet? Maybe take a moment to look at some everyday items around you with a bit of renewed curiosity. You genuinely never know what history you might uncover.